of the most difficult things about doing it?
The hashtag is a way that you can search into what adults want.
So, Cosmo, I'm just wondering, how important is it to do a business plan?
It is incredibly important to have a plan for your business. However, there is some aspects of doing a business plan that people sometimes they get too absorbed in because they're trying to do a very linear process for something that is actually quite non-linear. And what do I mean by this is, I mean that when you're sitting looking at a business plan template or something like that, it starts at the top and you fill out all the boxes. Now, your business is not going to fit in boxes like that. So it's incredibly important to have a plan. You may, if you're getting a grant from the government or applying for funding, you may have to do a formal business plan. But for yourself, it's important to have a plan. Whether you do a 40-page document on your business is entirely up to you. I am inclined to suggest that you should do something more straightforward and simple.
Okay, interesting. And how long do you think a business plan in the main should be? If one, I suppose, if it's for myself to focus me, and two, if it is actually for an outside party.
Okay, well, we take that in two different ways. So first of all, if you're doing it for yourself, your business plan has mainly got to be an affirmation that you have worked out that there is a market in your area that you're going to be able to approach and tap into to create sufficient money for yourself. And this is the thing that people find most difficult to do. So it's called market research is the foremost way. I tend to suggest to people that they should be stalking their competition and stalking what other people are doing, because it's much more fun to stalk than do market research. But you need to go and make sure that what you're doing is something that people are wanting to buy. And it's back to this thing. There may be a gap in the market, but have you got a market in the gap? If people don't want to buy it, they won't. So your business plan should really be a letter to yourself, firstly proving that there is a market and you can do the market. And secondly, it should be a spreadsheet, I'm sorry to say, because some people have such resistance to using spreadsheets, showing what your costs are and what the likely incomes are going to be and what your money is going to be. So if you're doing that for yourself, yes, that is very, very, very fine. And lots of people use this thing called a lean canvas, which I'll show you sometime if you wish. We talk about lean canvases maybe another time, but that is a 20-minute business plan. And that's perfectly sufficient for yourself. What I would say to you is that if you were planning, now before the days of GPS, sadly GPS has ruined this, but if you were planning to go on a holiday to Greece, you would have a whole pile of options. You could take planes, you could take ferries, you could take cars, you could take trains. There's all sorts of different ways you would go. A business plan is much the same as planning a trip like that. Is that you're asking yourself, how am I going to get to all these various places? What am I going to do when I get to certain points? Like, am I going to overnight? And the business plan, the point of the plan is that you're working out the stuff. The other thing why I like a business plan so much is that you are absolutely making sure that these wonderful ideas that are in your head are coming out. Because when you write stuff out, it has a very different feel and a very different flavor. And this is the other great big important part of a business plan, in that you are stop living in your own delusion land. So what we see is we see people often on these courses that people say, do you know what? It's only when I started writing stuff down that I see the flaws, but I also see there's a whole pile of other advantages that I hadn't thought of. So I absolutely believe in a business plan because you have a plan of what you're doing. I'm not convinced that every single business needs to do a 40 or 50 pager, which is sometimes what people are trying to do. So to follow on your next question, how long should it be? Well, if you are applying for Microfinance Ireland, they give you a template and you'll know there how long it's going to be. If you're applying for the bank, they give you boxes to fill out. If you're applying for the Back to Work Enterprise Allowance, they have a form with, I think it's about 8 pages in it. They're all for different reasons and they're different lengths because of that. And really, one of the things that people find strange is that we're saying, make up your own mind about stuff. Don't do what other people tell you if it doesn't make sense to you. So I'm going to throw it back to you, Melissa. What do you want your business plan for?
I suppose it's twofold. Certainly to focus myself, I need to really look at and to get it down on paper. I find actually when you're planning something, anything at all, to get it down on paper. So for myself to start with, and then I can elaborate if I need to give it to a third party.
See, that's the sensible approach. And you're doing it for you. And that's what businesses are, because after all, whose business is it?
Mine.
So it's your business plan.
Also, so you mentioned and you touched on templates earlier on, but say if I just want to do one for myself, are there any out there on the internet, or
there are? Most of the local enterprise offices have templates. They also have a very good guide to writing out a business plan, and it's worth having a look at. I genuinely believe you should go for a simple one. There is a very good business plan on Microfinance Ireland's website, which would do, I think it's 4 pages, but the boxes expand as you type things in, and they're a good template. My only caveat about them is the funny thing about business plans is the thing that you read first is the thing that the author of the plan writes last. Most business plans, any that I know of, I'm sure there's some that doesn't, they start off with this thing called an executive summary, and this has got to be the bit that people go, bless my soul, I want to read more about this business. And that's very similar to what appears on the website. But you can't start off writing your business plan to putting in your market research and all this sort of stuff until you can't write the executive summary until you've done all the rest of it. So there's a couple of things that I'm not being contrarian when I say I don't like business plans. What I don't like about them is that you get people sitting down and spending hours, if not days, if not weeks, ticking the boxes for the business plan, rather than going and finding out about the market themselves.
Okay, very interesting. Certainly, as I said, it's a tool for me personally that I find would focus me to discover whether I'm capable, if I have the capabilities to make my business successful. So
there you go. And that's the whole point. The first person you have to convince is you.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. We'll have another go. Any other questions? We'll come up another time. So thank you indeed, Melissa, and I'm sure I'll talk to you soon.
Cheers.